All right. Good morning, everyone. With all protocol duly noted, my name is Jaya Berry. I am a Program and Impact Associate with the International Organization of Youth. I am also a second-year student at the University of California, Los Angeles, studying International Development Studies. Thank you all for joining us today, both here in person and online. We're so glad you could make it. I'm delighted to welcome you to the fourth and final day of the International Youth Conference 12. We've had many wonderful, fantastic, educational, inspiring sessions so far, and I have no doubt that today will continue the momentum and be no exception. As a reminder, please ensure that you are marking your attendance in our mobile application in order to receive your 70% attendance and your participation certificate at the end of the day. To begin, I have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Siva Subramaniam to lead a workshop titled Science and Spirituality, Rivals, Allies, or One and the Same. Yeah. Dr. Siva is the founder and CEO of the Subramaniam Foundation for Global Brain Health and has worked as a surgeon, medical researcher, a nonprofit director, university examiner, and in a variety of other capacities in the medical industry in Malaysia, the UK, Ireland, and India. Dr. Siva, you have the floor. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Jaya. Thank you very much. A lot of times whenever someone introduces me, I always think they're introducing someone else. In fact, because am I that guy who Jaya is actually introducing? I always think about it. But anyway, I'm going to ask you for the next few minutes, you're not going to look at your phones or anything like that, because I'm going to take you to a mysterious world, which is, I need your full attention here, in fact. But anyway, how many of you is first time trip to New York here? Can you raise your hands, please? I'm the same, first time trip to New York. I had a sort of list of places that I actually wanted to see, actually. So yesterday, I didn't attend any of the sessions. I toured around. I have a fantastic friend who's a multi-billionaire in America with whom I'm actually invented a device to actually correct seizures from brain, actually, in a CEO, and I had the pleasure of him taking around the entire city, and I was able to see everything. I ticked it off, except for one. There was one regret. I couldn't see Spider-Man anywhere floating around. And in fact, I was looking around on the Times Square. My friend Roman kept asking me, why are you looking up the sky, Siva? I said, no, I just want to see if the Spider-Man is swinging around. I couldn't see that. So maybe in the next trip, okay? Only in the movies, but I want to see. But in America, anything is possible. So let's jump to the topic, in fact, okay? Science and spirituality. I'm a doctor, as you all know. But then at the same time, I was born in of course, I'm not a religious person. I was born in a Hindu religion, of course. But I couldn't actually accept any of those because the doctrines could not match up with my scientific mind as well. But the more I started, knowing about brain, what I understood was I was trying to know about God. Everything that I learned in Upanishads, Vedas, and every teaching is actually been written in neurology and neurosurgery, in fact, and embryology and everything. I was fascinated. I was able to find the connection, not just with Hinduism, with Islamism, Judaism, Christianity, and all of those things together. Now, where am I coming here for the youth of today, in fact, of the sustainable global goals of sustainable development? Of course, I was asking David from Kenya here, what is that again? What is the portfolios? Because I keep forgetting it, all of those. So it's a third one, which is the good health and well-being. Now, a lot of you over here, what I see is the tip of the iceberg. This is not the real character of you, neither am I. In fact, because once you close your door and you go home, your true character reveals itself. And that's where your fundamental, the real person is. In fact, who you are, who Siva is, who Jaya is. Everyone, are you a happy person or not a happy person? That is what is called as center of gravity, in fact, okay? So in each person's mind, there are 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts going every day. Okay, it's a mathematical calculation. Of the 60,000 thoughts, if maximum number of thoughts are positive, your life will be positive. And if maximum number of your thoughts are negative, no matter what your subconscious mind states, I want to have a positive life, it will never happen. Okay, so from today onwards, start counting them about the thoughts that runs in your mind. How many of them are positive? How many of them are negative? Yeah, so let's jump into the topic, in fact. So Om, the word Om, in fact, the same word can be said, I am, in Christianity, for example. When Moses went to, Mount Sinai and asked, who is this giving a command of the bushes? He said, I am that I am. So I am and Om, the words are extremely the same. I will come back to the frequency as well, but I just want to get familiarized with this. Before we go further, we have to understand the brain here. Okay, I'm not going to go neurology part. You're not my medical student. How many of you have a medical background here, please? No one? Little bit. Okay, very good. So I'll keep it very quick. For the moment, all you remember is pineal body. Keep it in your mind, because I'm not going to come back to the slide again. Of course, give me a caution when sometimes I go overboard. I talk a lot. Okay, bring me back to the topic again. So pineal body, in fact. And then the next one I want you to remember here is amygdala and hippocampus. This is the amygdala, and that's the hippocampus. So just remember those three structures there, because it's got all this Om, everything that I'm going to talk to you is got connected there. And this part here, this is corpus callosum, and this is part is called as ventricle. Ancient Greek believed this is where God was sitting, in the empty space where cerebrospinal fluid comes out. And that is why they call this part as temple. In fact, because this is why when a person is schizophrenic, they believe an evil thought gets into the mind. And that's why they do a procedure called trephining, making a hole and liberating the cerebrospinal fluid. When the spinal fluid is gone off, the person is relieved of the pressure and he feels okay. And then the people believed that the evil spirit went out of the brain. It's not. It's the fluid that went out of the brain. Okay? So remember that for the moment. So again, you have to be, any knowledge will be imbibed if you're present here. If your mind is elsewhere, you won't get anything. If you ever get a chance to read a book written by Eckhart Tolle called as The Power of Now, you will understand that. Okay? So, sorry, it's not. Okay, again, if a pineal body, I asked you to remember. The next part that I want you to remember is all the structures very close to the ventricle, the pineal body. Okay, this is the pineal body, and then the all these parts of the brainstem. You go through globus pallidum, putamen, and all this. Don't worry, you're not neurologists, neurosurgeons. You don't have to do an MRI reading and all of this. But if you are, I would expect you all to know that. So all these structures actually controls one area, like urinary bladder control, secondary respiratory center, blood pressure control, all of this. Now, why am I talking about this? Because one of the greatest problems in today's world is depression. In fact, all of you, in some way or the other, is depressed. In fact, one is hooked onto the Instagram, TikToks, and all of those. You look at those and you get that satisfaction when somebody puts a liking. In fact, and I'm surprised, I'm not into any of the websites, but I have to have a website because I have a foundation as well. If time permits, I'll talk about that towards the end as well. Okay. So that gives a depression because you don't, have the internal God or whatever inside your heart. And that's what I'm trying to put a link there. So travel with me towards the end of the class, you will understand. Okay. And at the same time, 45 minutes is what I was given, but I cannot change you in 45 minutes, right? I cannot change the concept and faith that you have, but I can actually just give you a small drop in the oceans, at least for you to think about it. Okay, now we're going to the frequency, in fact. The word Om, or I am, as I told you, any of the frequency I am, that means God is inside your heart. I am, have all got 432 hertz. Classical music has got 432 hertz. Christianity, Gregorian chant has 432 hertz. Namaz, Islam, namaz reading has got a 432 hertz. if you record. Buddhism chanting also has 432 hertz frequency. Judaism Torah reading also got 432 reading, and many other religious chants and all this. But I've highlighted this modern music, which is hip hop, and all this this thing with goes off the rhythm is 441 hertz. What is the rationale? Why am I learning this? Because listen to this very carefully. 432 hertz is what the frequency you need for the pineal body to vibrate. Okay, only then the pineal body vibrates. When you hear that music, it vibrates. You activate the pineal body. What is the relevance of the pineal body? I'm going to mention to you later on. 441 is when the pineal body is not activated, 441 hertz, you actually reach nowhere. In fact, that's why modern music do not produce a creativity person, a person with creations. If you see even in movies, inventors always listen to the classical music because that sort of stimulates the creativity in a man's brain or in a woman's brain as well. So shall we go to the next one, please? Yeah. Okay. Moving on further, the words, yoga, which has been very wrongly used. For example, in Sanskrit, it means to yoke with the oneness. Okay. And yogasana means posture. Asana means posture in Sanskrit. They've all misunderstood that. And again, yogana meditation is the third eye, which is third eye is the pineal gland. I'm going to come to that as well. Because if you take the pineal gland, that pineal gland that I tell you, you dissect it, cut it, and you will view that it has got rods and cones. If you cut the retina, you look at microscope, you will have rods and cones. So how is that in ancient civilizations in India, Greece, and Chinese call that as a third eye without knowing? And if I were to take a scalpel, put this right here into a nascion, this is part is called nascion, the occipital region, and then above this, the parietal bone, just 1 inch above the ear. If I put this area, it'll meet in one central area right in the brain, and that's where the pineal gland is. Okay, so if I hit here, that's where the pineal gland is. Okay, so asana is position. So in yoga, when you meditate, for example, you're activating your your third eye. The third eye, I'm going to tell you what all it does. It does magical things. In fact, asana, all that, doing all this, is actually you're squeezing your adrenal glands, your fallopian tubes, testicular testes, and all this thyroid and all this important structure, which is a reverse. When you squeeze them, it goes to the pituitary gland. The signal goes to the pituitary gland, and pituitary gland then releases all the respective hormones like thyroid stimulating hormones, fallopian stimulating hormones, all of this. So that is a well-being. So all together is completely a well-being, just not mental, everything. So this concept is completely lost in the third world countries. In fact, not in third world countries, everywhere, because it's where, even in America, everyone who talks about, who takes a bath, the scroll, the yoga scroll, feels they're already a meditative position. I have a very good friend in Ireland, he's called Peter. Peter thinks by drinking green tea is spiritual. I've been a friend to him for the last 25 years. I told him that's not spiritual, in fact, because he does all the things that is not spiritual. And then he goes and buys green tea and he says, gives me a call. Siva, I just met Joanne and I gave her green tea. I said, what are you trying to say, in fact? That I'm a spiritual guy. And he walks away from that girl. I just don't know. I said, you have hurt her. You walked away. That's a bad karma. No, I gave her a packet of green tea. So that is the philosophy of the Western spiritualization. So, okay, when you meditate, if this is supposed to be like God, whichever. So I'm not trying to change your faith. If you're scientific, whatever, you have to believe in something. Okay, it doesn't have to be God. You can believe in chair, anything, chant, anything. This is probably a wrong example to take for probably, say, Hitler, for example. Even Hitler believed in the thing called providence. He used to say, if providence are there, I will be able to conquer that country. So you need something to believe in. Otherwise, you will lose your game, in fact. It's like in children, when we were kids, for example, when I was a kid, we used to have a toy, which is a, plane that revolves around, but it's actually stuck onto the wall ceiling, but it goes up. But that, if that ceiling is not there, if it's not stuck, it'll get lost. Okay, so in order for you to actually get all the spiritualism, so that you will have a direction in your life, you won't be able to face any depressions. That is what I'm trying to tell you that. Okay, again, going back, the third eye, we talk about the third eye because this is what in Egyptian civilization is called as Ra. They believe this is called Ra, God. They believe that God is inside the brain, it's not elsewhere. Okay, in several Greek philosophy, Chinese philosophy, ancient civilizations, Christianity, everyone believed that even Christ said God is within you. In Hinduism, it's called as Advaitam, which Sankaracharya actually said there is two philosophies. Advaitam means God and you is one person. Okay, so that is the this thing. So let's move to the next one. So this part, which you'll find in the Vatican City, a structure like that, you know what that structure is? It's pineal gland, because ancient civilization understood that that is where God was sitting, in fact. Okay, sorry, let's go to the next one. So again, in Rome, you'll find the Vatican City. People stand there and take photographs, perhaps not understanding what it is. Now, let's look at this, each one. It's fascinating. And embryologically, the pineal glands develops on the 49th day in the baby when it's in the mother's womb. Not on the 48th day, not on the 50th day, 49th day. If you take an MRI, you'll find there is a pineal gland there popping up. Ancient civilizations, Upanishads, every Greek mythology, Chinese mythology says that the soul enters in the day of intrauterine life on the 49th day. How is that fascinating? How did they know, even when the MRIs weren't there, that is when the soul enters into the body, in fact? Okay. Now, when the person dies, the first structure to lose the blood supply is to hippocampus. Remember, I showed you a structure, hippocampus. The hippocampus, yes, it's hippocampus have memories, stores memories. Like, for example, you all have flown from different places, from Africa, from everywhere, in fact. When you get into the plane, actually, or car towards the airport, the first thing that gets into your mind is, have I closed the door properly? Have I put the bills correctly? That's all it's going in. So your journey for the first 30, 40 minutes is very, very painful, extremely painful. So God, or whatever you want to believe in their own mysterious way, they cut the blood supply to the hippocampus. When the hippocampus is shut, that's the first in the brain, the first structure to die in the brain is hippocampus. So when you die, the first structure that goes off is your memories. You don't even know, oh, this is my son, that's my mom, nothing. Your journey is gone, finished. And then the soul from here goes out of the anterior frontanelli. Soul disappears. Now that journey is extremely painful. So in the pineal gland, not only the soul is sitting there, 0.5 cc of DMT material is also stored there. So the first structure, if you take an MRI, you can Google it, the first structure to burst in an MRI when the person dies is the pineal gland. Pineal gland burst, and then the DMT 0.5 cc comes out. You know what DMT is? It's a natural general anesthetics, so that you don't have any pain when you die. So your memory is lost. So he's God or whatever providence is making your universe, making your journey as smooth as possible. Hey, you don't have to worry about any other person here. Your journey is finished. Let's travel. Your memory is all lost completely. So the pineal gland, which I've told you, the DMT and all this, and the pineal gland ruptures at the first structure. So this is what, like every time I learn about, this is the pineal gland, I'm just saying. So when a person dies, this is where it leaves, in fact, You have to believe in something. I tell you what, as a surgeon, as a doctor, I've seen a lot of people dying in my profession, not because of my treatment, don't say, oh my God, I'm not going to recommend Siva here. He talks about death all the time. That is like straight first class ticket to, it's not. I've seen people with other patients when I'm looking after. Any person who have got faith, Christianity, Islamism, whatever, they have a very beautiful, smooth flow. They've accepted, they go beautifully. People are non-believers. Oh my God, I've seen the last few minutes, they struggle. That's the time they call the pastor to come in, they do the preachings and all this. I mean, if you get time, read about Charles Darwin, okay? See, listen to his books. I mean, read his books. See how pathetically he died. He lost his daughter, at a young age when she was just 10 years of age. And until his own death, he couldn't come to terms. He died he died a very painful death because he thought that the soul, when you die, it's like an electric switch. You switch it off, finished. So he couldn't actually relate. So he had a very pathetic life. And that's what happens. I've literally seen life, in fact. So I'm not asking you to change, but I am asking you to have that center of gravity, in fact, okay? Let's, how are we doing with the time, please? Yeah.
We're 20 minutes in, so we have 25.
Okay, great. We're doing good. So can you change the slides?
This direction.
Yeah, yes. Okay, this is if you ever go to Italy, for example, this is what you see in the Sistine Chapel, drawn by Michelangelo, famous sculptor. Michelangelo drew this. He says, this is God, and this is Adam, creation of mankind. But this is not God. This is actually brain. Can you go to the next slide, please? And the Johns Hopkins neurosurgeons went from America and they did the study. In fact, you can actually Google it. So they actually capturized that and they drew this diagram. And what you see is the brain, in fact. And over here as well. See all the brain structures? So you're not looking for external product. God, whichever religion it is, it's there. But nobody has actually told anything. For example, religion says, in Hinduism, they said, don't eat cows. You go to hell, in fact, whatever. It's not, because the reason is when a child is born, when the mother dies, the only source by which the child can get milk is the cow's milk. So they say they came up with that law and they connected with this. In Islamism, with all the due respect, I know I'm said there are a lot of people from Islamic faith. With respect, I'm also saying this. In fact, during the ancient Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in fact, when he was there was lots of tinea solium, which is measly pork, which goes to neurocertosis, producing brain fevers. So that is why, and it comes always in the pork. And that's what he said, don't eat pork. In fact, it's nothing to do with the religion or something. And the same time, I'm sure Islamic people over here will also say that Prophet Muhammad also said, if you're in a famine or things like that, you can eat pork by saying your prayer, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim or whatever. So I know a little bit because I'm not an Islamic person, but I have a lot of Islamic friends. So they have said as well. So I think what we have misunderstood is people haven't connected that. As long as you have brains, they think, oh, I am, intelligent person. That ego comes in. Ego. You know how the ego actually came out? The word ego, edging God out. In fact, so the moment you have a degree, and then you have a degree, you take God out. And I said, oh, I know everything. That's how the Babel and all that. Maybe my parents want me to be humble. They name me, even if my degree cannot go longer than my name is Thirusu Pragasam Subramaniam. Even I have to be born 7 times, I think, to get my educational degree longer than my name. Probably, and that probably keeps me grounded, in fact. Okay. So next slide, please. Yeah, again, pineal gland in the Bible has been mentioned in all the statements. Okay. Yeah. Shall we go to the next one, please? Yeah. Again, when I had this thing, connection to God, understanding of neurosurgery and all this became very profound because something that I don't talk about. My father, when I was in medical school, was brutally murdered and burnt alive, in fact. So I was completely distraught. I was operating that day. I heard the news. I was very close to my dad. My father was a very successful businessman, and they murdered him and killed him, actually. So that ripped me apart. So I traveled, though I was brought up in England, my ancestry, my great-great-grandfather family were from India, from southern part of India, Tamil Nadu actually. So I reconnected to my roots. I went to the Himalayas, and meditated. And I understood more about spiritualism under Guruji and all that. And that's how I was sitting, of course. And I also understood that you can actually connect all those points, and every point has a conical structure in the same way. And this is called as Batmashana position. Because why? Because I always ask questions. Even when I was a child, I used to pester my parents. In fact, why do you have to do this? Why do you have to do that? So what I've understood is, because when you have to receive the beneficial rays, you sit in the meditative positions and you receive those rays. Okay, and that is how you receive. You need a kind of a dish or something like that. So through the beneficial rays, there are a lot of beneficial rays which is coming in, but in order for you to absorb them, you need to have that particular setup, and that's why you do that. I would not believe this sort of things, but I myself, very quickly, I wanted to mention this. There was a time I did a research in Mayo Clinic, in fact, something about brain. I have to actually do a remote monitoring of these patients, actually. I have to put this before they go to their surgery and do the chart the next following day. And I was surprised. There was this one patient around 7 p.m. There is a thing called as oxygen saturation level. Means red blood cells is there, oxygen gets inside. A lot of them, you would probably, if you can find an American, most of them would be about 70%, 75%. It wouldn't go more than that during my practice. Only one person that I found, one patient from Tanzania, who had 100%. It's pure. I mean, there's no pollution, nothing there. But Americans, definitely 75%. If you get 80%, they're in the television promoting health and all that thing. But this 75%. So anyway, cut the long story short, I found at one time at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, it was going in this chart, and remotely it was going to 100%. And I said, panicked, and then went up down again. So the next morning, I went to the operating room, sat down with this patient, and this was throbbing my brain, actually. So I asked the patient, I said, hey, what were you doing yesterday at 7 o'clock in the evening? Oh, doctor, we were sitting and doing a prayer. How many minutes? 20, 30 minutes. I said, wow, how did that RBC recording 100% oxygen was getting in? I thought, oh, maybe this is just a wrong experiment. And I had another patient had a similar reading. So I went back the next morning, went and talked to that patient. Excuse me, what were you doing yesterday at 8 o'clock? Oh, I was just sitting and watching television. Really? And then I said, what about your wife and children? Oh, my wife and children were actually praying to God, sitting and connecting with them from Colorado to their church at that time. And this gentleman, and he said, what about your husband who's going to be, he's a patient, he's going to be operated. Oh, he doesn't believe in God. And I thought, oh my goodness, the power of prayer was able to actually increase an oxygen saturation level of a patient to 100%. How is that possible? So there are things that we don't understand there. So, and then I went back to the Mayo Clinic and I said, so I think to the superintendent of hospital, in fact, I think we need to do a lot of surgery. So we can't give funding for that. You need to go to the Pope, actually, because there's something to do with that. And I said, I just left it out. But I just wanted to say that. But anyway, let's go to this region here right away. So there is 7 chakras, like Muladhara chakra, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anhata, Vishuddhi, Ajna, and Sahasrara chakra. Are these just chakras? Absolutely not. These are not chakras. These are parts of the spinal cords, in fact, okay? So if you look at, for example, coccyx area is where the Muladhara chakra is. And Swadhisthana is where the umbilicus, which is a junction of the coccyx and sacrum. In fact, if you go further up, the lumbar and this area goes to the Anahadana, okay? And then Vishuddhi is where the cervical and then the thoracic region, vertebrae are there. Those are the junction. And Sahasrara is that part which is right on the top there, okay? Now, if you speak the connection here, what is the rationale about all this, ascending all the structures? Now, I want you all, so in a very simple way, a person with only this Muladhara is activated, listen to this very carefully, he or she will be only thinking about food and nothing else. in his or her life is food is everything that demands it. So if the chakra, if your vibration goes a little higher up and goes to the Swadhisthana, all you'll be thinking about is only sexual pleasures and nothing else. Okay, if it goes further up, which is Manipura, Swadhisthana and Manipura, which is here, that is the time you'll be thinking about not about you, about another person's hunger. In fact, so your soul, it becomes refined. You'll be thinking about other person's Manipura, that, oh my God, this guy is hungry, this girl is hungry, let me feed him, or something like that. You'll be thinking about the world. I think definitely, I can tell you for sure that you guys are not in this. You're a little high above because you're thinking about other people to bring new things in the new generation here. If you go still further up, Anhada means heart. You wanted to bring happiness to everyone. Now you can tell me, put your right hand on your chest, please, all of you. Right hand, yes. Do you feel it heavy or light? Or do you feel centered? There's something there. Centered, there's some object there, correct? Okay, that means your anhada is open, means you have a lot of love in your heart, in fact. So if it goes a little higher up, Vishuddhi, with this chakra, whatever word you speak, people will listen to you. You become powerful. You become powerful, okay? And then Ajna, the last chakra, which is the pineal gland, is activated. The pineal gland activated, you go beyond that. You can create things, musics and everything. You can touch people, everything. You go really higher up. And if you go to Sahasrara chakra, you become almost a saint, in fact, okay? So I love, this is called as Kundalini chakra, means transcendental meditation. I used to keep doing that. And then at that point, I think my parents stopped me and said, Siva, we don't want you to become walking around with saffron cloth. We want to be a surgeon, actually, and keep operating. Don't become this thing. Then I stopped. I do that, but I don't go higher than that. Because once you go through this, I will take off my suit, everything, this thing, and just in underwear, I'll start walking. That is called as nirvana. Sanskrit. Nirvana means naked, the way that God created me. In fact, I won't feel anything. That is nirvana. Okay? So let's move to the next one, please. Yeah. Okay. Now, with the time given here, I'm going to give a small this thing. So how are we doing with the time, please? 10 minutes. Thank you. Cheers. Okay. The two arteries are there in the base of the brain, okay, which is called as anterior cerebral artery, okay? Anterior cerebral artery, in fact. So in order to do that, for example, Jaya, can I ask you to come forward for me, please? Yeah, okay. Very simple as, yeah, this way. So if I ask, for example, is it okay if I touch you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I'm going to keep here, just remember that area and focus that area, okay? Sit down, please. Yeah, so that is why some of the Indian ladies put this thing. It's not because for beauty, because for you to constantly get grounded means you start thinking, because that's where the pineal gland is. The more you think about it, blood supply will rush into that area, okay? All right. Before I go further, I wanted to jump in because the next topic we're going is a beautiful topic. But before here, I want you to now cross your legs and sit. Everyone, just cross your legs like that, whichever legs, right or left, please. Okay. Okay. Right. I can tell you right away, you're very emotional. You're very logical, emotional, everything. So I can tell you right away, because whoever takes the left and put it on the right, you are extremely governed by emotional thoughts. It's very bad. In fact, not very bad, but especially it's not very bad because it sometimes backfires. If a guy comes into you and you really like him, you judge him by emotional level and you fall a prey to that person. But if you put on the right legs when you're dating or anyone, put your right leg and talk to that person. That emotional part will not come out because our brain. So again, can you come here, please? Yeah. Oh no, sorry. I'll sit down here. I'll draw the diagram. No, sit down here, please. Yeah. So, like for example, if you okay, that's the brain. Okay. So this is the first part of the brain to develop. It's called the reptilian brain. Okay, this is the reptilian brain. Reptilian brain, REF, reptilian brain. The next part of the brain is called the limbic brain, the emotional brain. And the last part to grow is the forebrain, which is the neonatal brain, which controls the logical thinking. So when you put your left like that, you are actually suppressing this. Okay? And the reptilian brain is for you to just run away from danger, fear, flight, and fight. That is all. And animal instincts, going to the restroom, this thing. But if you want to go to the restroom, the brain tells you the code for women is 515 ash. That the forebrain has to tell you that. Okay. Now, emotional brain overrides. So when during dating time, definitely attraction is first is reptilian. Oh, I like that person. I like this girl. Reptilian, physical, whatever attraction. Straight away, it goes to the limbic part of the brain. And by that time, the process is done already 3 months. Only then it goes to the forebrain. By that time, you think, oh my God, this guy is horrible. That guy. And it's too late. So every time, go through this. Okay, let's now do a exercise here. I have only 1 minute. How many more minutes, please? 5 minutes. That's enough, yeah. So let's do this. Sorry. I'm going to do an exercise here. I'm going to do meditation for you guys, just 1 minute, okay? I'm sure some of the people who attended last time in Los Angeles probably would know. I want you to really look at only these 4 dots constantly without closing your eyes, because I'm actually activating your pineal gland right now by looking at this, by bringing anterior cerebral artery as powerful as possible. Only these 4 dots and nothing else. Don't look at anything else. Just keep looking at it. Don't close your eyes. Okay, now close your eyes and do not open until you see an image. You can see Christ, right?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So in the same way, so what you did was your brain was able to change, what I did was neurogenesis, in fact, because if I take, for example, Eliza's brain, for example, and take each of those neuron cells and put it on the ground, go back, not on the 14th floor though, go to the ground and put one top of the other, separate them. Do you know how far it'll go? Just Eliza's brain alone would reach the moon. So that means each of you have those many neurons, but it's not interlinked. In order to make interlink, you have to do exercises. So what I did was just 1 minute. Now, let's look at the next picture. Here, again, look at this only here, this particular spot and nothing else. You will actually create color and everything. Your brain will record this negative photo into a positive photo. Just keep looking at it. Don't close your eyes. Just that central spot. Things like that, okay? Now close your eyes. Do not open until you see a very clear image. Okay, can you see a colored picture? Okay, so your brain is able to do that. Even 1 minute, if your brain can do that, imagine if you were to do meditation properly, what your brain will be. For example, I mean, I don't want to brag or something like that. If a lot of times, if you give me a very big article, I will read it within a few seconds because I just do a photographic memory. I'll just read like that and I'll give it back, in fact. And if you would ask me to draw, I will draw it right away, page by page, in fact, because it's not wow. I just learned it from technique. I'm not a genius. I'm a moron, actually. I have to learn right from this thing. Everything is, because I think a lot of people, this is where they misunderstand. They have a 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration is what you should have. A lot of people have 99% inspiration and 1% perspiration. They want to have magic out of that. Absolutely not. So in summary, because the time given, I cannot go in detail because spiritualism is like an ocean. What I gave you is just a drop. I can answer every question that you have about God, about why these bad things happen to humanities, everything, every answer. If you have time, I can answer that question and take that ignorance off. Actually, I was an ignorant fool as well. I understand. And then I thought, wow, this is actually interconnected. This is fabulous because no one actually explained to it. All religions say the same thing. You don't have to change your religion. Every religion has told the same thing. So in other words, you need spiritualism and science in your life to keep yourself grounded and have your journey. That is extremely important. Now, in this, the next one, please. Yeah, this is my foundation. Sorry, I'll go back. Yeah, this is my foundation. So please take a picture if you can. That's my website. That's my email address. Okay. I have a foundation. So next picture, please. Yeah. Yeah. So no, there. Yeah. So these are children with hydrocephalus. Okay. And 95% of children die within a year, in fact. So humbly, I've invented a non-obstructive cerebral shunt to correct hydrocephalus, okay, which draws the fluid away from the brain. And by that, I'm able to correct this. But right now in the world, we don't have that non-obstructive cerebral shunt. The shunt that we have get obstructed almost every year. So in the Western world, a child at the age of 5 would have to undergo this procedure almost every year. You do a craniotomy, open a roll, put like a pen size into the brain ventricle, draw the fluid all the way to the abdomen, bypass this surgery, because there is a block in this thing. A lot of children in the Western world have hydrocephalus because of pediatrics brain tumor, or it could be because of torn parts of the brain, what we call as torn choroid plexus. In the developing nations in Africa and all this, a lot of children, due to malnutrition, have this problem. Okay, they don't have this thing and they have this obstruction. So humbly, I've invented this shunt that doesn't get obstructed. Okay, and it's just once for a lifetime. You don't have to drill this thing. And not there alone. I've started that foundation to distribute this free of charge to all the children in the third world countries. In fact, after 8 years of struggle, putting entire money that I have on this, only recently, of course, I have to say thanks to Ruby and all of that. They got me connected with a lot of benefactors and all this that carved a path, United Nations and all of this. But finally, I was able to, get into a good hospital. I can't name that hospital because they've started collaborating with me. They're giving me the funding. After 8 years, we are now moving in a projectile very fast, in fact, animal experiments and all that. Now, we will make that instrument with the profit of 40%. It's a $2.6 billion market every year. Of that, they'll give me 40%. I'll be happy. And 60% the hospital takes it. But with that money that I'm getting, I'm also going to distribute this free of charge in third world children, in fact. And I need a lot of money, in fact. So if you guys be kind enough to donate, there is a donating section, circulate to all your friends and things like that. At this juncture, I also like to mention this, my personal, humble opinion. Last time in Los Angeles, when I introduced, we had the benefits of all the best consulates of all the nations come in and participate. In fact, I even shared this thing with David from Kenya here. And I said, one thing that puzzled me was, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, every European consulates got me connected. Austria, Sweden, everyone. But it wasn't the major problem those nations are having. But every consulates, with all the due respect, from African continent, did not have a follow through. They said, oh, we're going to keep you connected. We're going to do this. Nothing happened. And I thought, oh my God, it's a major problem they're having and they don't want to do anything. Whereas European nations, they have nothing to do with this. A very small percentage of children are going through that, but they wanted to help. So where is this fundamentally wrong there, right? So that is why youth like you, I was following up for the last few days. They were able to touch all that, but not the third goal, in fact. So it will be you who are going to create me a bridge for me to make this, because in about 5 years' time, we'll be bringing this to the market, and I want to take this to all the rest of the world, in fact. So with that, I will finish my talk. So I hope I have 2 dreams to this thing, which I wanted to complete this and make it available in the third world countries. And the second dream is, at least hopefully the next time when I come to New York, I'll be able to see Spider-Man at least swinging around somewhere, because I spent yesterday till about 12 midnight, I couldn't see him. So if this too is completed, I will die as a very happy man. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sure.
All right, thank you, Dr. Siva. That was a wonderfully informative workshop about thank you. about the relation between medicine and anatomy and spirituality and religion. And it was great to hear more about what your foundation is doing, and especially in relation to youth. Our next session will be from FFD4 to the SDG Summit 27, a dialogue on means of implementation. That will begin at 10:30. So feel free to mingle, take a break, but be back here by 10:30 for our next session. Thank you.
Really great. Awesome.